Thanks, Stephen. So, hi everyone, and welcome back to a new Four Skills Career Talk. Today, I'm really pleased to be joined by two colleagues working in one of our commissioning teams, that being daytime and features. So, a common misconception we get at Channel 4 is that we have production facility on site, whereas in reality we don't. As a publisher broadcaster, we don't produce content in-house, we commission it, helping nurture independent production companies all across the UK. And 100% of our UK programmes are actually commissioned from UK production companies. So today I'll be asking Deborah and Lydia questions to gain a better understanding of the wonderful world of commissioning, in addition on how they got into the roles they're in now, any tips and advice they are able to provide to anyone looking to break into this area or media more generally perhaps. So on that note, it's worth actually mentioning that we currently have 4 apprentice roles live in our on our careers website, one of which being in Deborah and Lydia's team, located in Glasgow. The other 3 roles are based in digital commissioning, commissioning operations, and sports commissioning. Some more details on these roles can be found on the careers website, and the deadline to apply is February 27th, so opportunities not to be missed. So finally, if you have any questions for our panelists and you're following along live, please drop them into the Q&A box and we'll get back to them at the end. So firstly, let's start with introductions. If Deborah, you're happy to kick us off by telling us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, hi, I'm Deborah Dunnett. I'm a commissioning editor and I work for the daytime and features team, which actually looks after more than half of Channel 4's linear programming. We're a small team, but we've got a massive output. So that's everything from sort of lunchtime all the way into to the end of the day, barring some key sort of roles like key slots like the news and Hollyoaks. And so everything from, like in Glasgow, we make a lot of Phil and Kirsty stuff up here. I do travelogues with Sandy Talksvik, and I do Miriam and Alan, Lost in Scotland. And yeah, as we're sort of saying, it's sort of what happens is companies bring me ideas, and if I think that a large audience is going to enjoy them or learn something from them, then I will then take them to my bosses and I say, I think we should give them some money and they should make this.
Fab, thanks,
Lydia?
Deborah. And over to you, Lydia.
So I am the genre assistant and program coordinator within the daytime and features commissioning team, so the same team as Deborah. And my role is, as Deborah says, the ideas come into her from companies, and then we, maybe the ones we love, try and get them some money to get them made. So I am sort of trying to look after the team with your usual general administrative and diary kind of things, but also the coordinator side of my job is that process of the idea coming into Deborah, us trying to get some money for it, them getting the money, them making the show, and then delivering it to us, the channel, it going out on the telly, and then it living in our archive if that's maybe on All 4. That is a whole process, and I'm sort of the middleman in the middle of all of that, trying to make sure all of those bits go smoothly.
So interesting, thank you. So I guess to touch a bit more on kind of what commissioning is all about, what is the purpose of the commissioning department at Channel 4?
Shall I go on that, Lids? Essentially, like you said at the start, that we get all of our content from production companies. So somebody has to be there at the end of a phone or at the end of an email, usually, to go through the hundreds and hundreds of ideas that we get sent and to say, first and foremost, whether they fit in with what the channel's looking to do that year or even that month. And then respond to those production companies so that they're not just coming up with ideas in a vacuum. They're getting feedback, they're getting our intel. We get lots of research, from Channel 4. We know how other shows are performing, how our competitors are performing. We read those trends, and it's our job to translate that and help people do good business. And then it's our job to then go to our boss and try to get those companies that business. So if I've got an idea I'm keen on, the company isn't going into my boss and pitching it. I'm doing that for them. I'm translating it and I'm giving it the big sell. And I'm talking about where the money's going to come from and you know, what the running order might be like, or, you know, who we're thinking of to present it, all those sort of creative things, as well as the financial and the business side of it. And if I do my job well, then I will get a commission, and I get to say to this production company, okay, we're going to give you £180,000, £2 million, whatever it is, depending on the size of the series. And then, as Lydia was saying, actually, it doesn't stop there. It's got to be on screen safely, and that means it's got to be compliant. For example, you don't want Ofcom complaints, or people who didn't sign up to be in the show or in the back of shot, or things like that. Or you want to make sure it is delivered on budget as well. You want to
Mm. Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting. And you said that you get hundreds of pitches or ideas come across your desk, kind of, what's that, monthly, annually? Is it really easy to pick out something that you think will?
I'll go again on this if it's okay, Lydia. So yeah, like, so I'll maybe get, gosh, I don't know. I could get 20 ideas a week. I could get a lot more, depending on what time of the year it is, and whether people can see the, you know, like the end of financial year coming. I'll take an idea from anyone. You can be a person, you can be a company. I'm not snobby, and some of my first commissions were from people who had never made TV as a company for Channel 4 previously, and I still do that all the time. If I, like, I'll pretty much know within 10 minutes, or I'll know when I'm reading it whether it's going to work or not. There was one idea, Extraordinary Escapes with Sandy Toksvig, that I was pitched verbally, and it wasn't right, and I said no. And then I sort of sat thinking about it while they were talking to me about something else, and I went, actually, let's rewind. If we do this major tweak to it, I think we're on to a winner. And we were. It's now coming back for its third series. But you know in the moment, almost, I think. And then the next bit of the process is Lydia and I are part of a team, and everyone's voice in that team, whether you're the apprentice or whether you're Joe Street, who's our head, is equally important. That's why you're there, right? If we don't listen to everyone's voices, then we're just making TV for me, and there's not a million of me at home. There's you know, there's 56 million other kinds of people. And so if we're keen on an idea, we'll sit down. We have a weekly ideas meeting, and I will send the idea to Lydia. She'll get it on the agenda. She'll be ready with all the visuals. And then I'll say, I think we should do this. And if you get silence from the rest of the team, you're like, just me then. And then you move on and you go back to your intake and you say, I'm really, really sorry I couldn't get any interest. If you do get interest, we might then say, do you know what, we need some more, we need a proof of concept. It'd be good to see what sort of people might want to be on the show, or be good to see, you know, who the experts might be, or do a run through, or if it, you know, so we might give them development money. Or if it's, you know, some formats just work on paper and you know that you don't need to do a proof of concept. So then you would then go to our big boss. His name's Ian Katz. He probably don't know if it's called Big Boss. That sounds infantilizing.
That works.
He is. He's in charge, and the reason he's in charge, and people always, they do wonder why you have different departments and then one person making a decision. Well, that's because we've got lots of different genres. So me and Lydia are daytime and features, but we've got drama, we've got comedy, we've got news and current affairs, we've got fact in, we've got sport, we've got ents, docs, and specialist factual. And if I've left anyone out, then apologies. And then we've got digital. So the reason you just need one person in the middle is because I could be looking after something that's exactly like somebody else is looking after. And you just need to make sure that across the Channel 4, E4 and More 4 schedules, that nobody's doing the same thing twice, or that it all complements each other, or that you've got enough variety. So every 3 or 4 weeks, we'll go to him with our favourite ideas and say, this is what we think should be on the channel. And we're quite fortunate because most of the time he's been saying yes, which is nice.
And I really liked your point, Deborah, there about how everyone feeds into the decision making, including apprentices, because we're really passionate about bringing young people into the channel, because we're trying to appeal to these young audiences and stay current in the face of very competitive giants like Netflix, Now TV, Prime. So that's great to hear. And you mentioned at the start of the discussion about some notable kind of daytime and features programs. What ones have you particularly enjoyed bringing to our screens?
Lydia, you go with that one, because I've already selfishly mentioned some of mine.
Well, I think that across the team, we've got so many like brilliant shows, and me personally, the majority of what I, look after or, have my fingers in is some of our really long running, proper like Channel 4 staples, like Come Dine With Me and Four in a Bed and A Place in the Sun, which are such like fun comfort watches. So those ones that like everyone knows that I get to see quite a lot. In terms of like maybe new things coming down the track, there's one that I remember being in, as Deborah said, like, if an idea comes that they really like, we'll come to a group meeting with the whole team, we'll have a conversation about it, and like, we'll all be able to offer our opinions and say what we like about the idea, what we don't, which is so much fun. But I remember the meeting when an idea called Sex Rated came across the plate, which I'm quite excited about coming to screens soon, which I'm not sure how much I can say about that.
I was going to say, how much can you tell us? We're looking forward to that. When do you suspect that'll be out, Lydia? Is it still early days?
That might be under wraps.
An exact date, but just keep an eye out.
Keep an eye out.
That's the other big job of commissioning. You have to keep everyone's secrets, because otherwise the other broadcasters find out what you're up to and will try to schedule against you. So we keep everything a secret until today's press day for anything that goes into the schedule 2 weeks from now.
Oh, that must be hard. I'd be no good at that. So well done.
It's really hard in Scotland because everyone just is friends and just tells stuff. And so quite often you know what your competitors are up to because your friends are making the show, which is quite handy.
I know this is a tough question to answer, but I wondered if you could give us a bit of an insight into the day of a life of your day-to-day roles, kind of what typical things you get up to, tasks. Yeah, a bit of an insight would be great.
Lydia, do you want to go first?
I can. Well, I can talk about some of the things that happened over the last couple of days. Like this morning, because my role is sort of split across administrative things, which you would imagine sort of any office person who's looking after other people deals with. So I had a little bit of a tiny travel emergency this morning with someone who didn't realize that a meeting that they were going to. So just deciding whether or not someone was still going to be driving to Manchester or not, and hotel bookings. And I am arranging an opportunity for all of our team to get together in Bristol next month. So our team is spread out across the country. We have got some people in Glasgow, some in London, some in Leeds, and some in Bristol. So we're all going to get together down in Bristol. So I'm organising that. But then I also had some shows to watch. So I watched A Place in the Sun. I watched some Junior Bake Off. That is one of the bits of my job that is especially fun, that I get to watch TV for it.
Great tasks.
So that was really good. We had some learning and training today, actually, which was given by some of the people in Channel 4 itself. So today has been actually quite a fun, varied wee day. I've also been talking to a couple of our production companies, talking about delivery dates. So when a production company is making a show for us, it's sometimes a bit of a juggling act to make sure if we've decided when in the year certain things are going to play out, just making sure that it comes to us in time, has enough time to go through all of the technical things that need to happen for it to be ready to go out on the TV. So I've been discussing things like that. So yeah, that's been some of my day-to-day.
Nice and varied. Thanks, Lydia.
And then the first thing I did today was make a casting decision. So we have commissioned a series where it's people competing against each other. It's a whittle, and at the end of it is a life-changing prize. And so we've been through the casting process, and it's my job to sign off who I think the final 7 people should be. And so I did that. And then I dealt with a couple of legal complaints diplomatically. And then I did training, same as Lydia. And one thing that's great about being in Channel 4 is the amount of training that's available. Yesterday I did separate training. I did British Sign Language as well, which was fantastic. Then I got to watch the latest episode of a show called Bargain Holidays with Joe Wilkinson and Catherine Ryan, and I just laughed like a drain for an entire hour. Everyone in the office thought I was going round the bend. It was like some of it, I was actually wheezing at one point, and then I didn't even have any notes to write on that. But then I just wanted to check that all the children in it have had a consent form. So still back to the sort of legal thing. And then I met with an indie to tell them what I'm looking for in terms of ideas at the moment.
Yeah.
And then I came on here.
Wow, fantastic. God, sounds like a very varied team in terms of what you get up to. Especially, I didn't actually realize that you got involved with the casting element. That's quite exciting.
Yeah, it's lovely. Like there's serious sides to that, which is we also make sure that they're psychologically, up to it, and that we give them enough support, and that we fulfill our duty of care. So lots of people know about duty of care because of Love Island, So I fully imagine that the ITV commissioners get involved in picking who the final cast are. Who makes good TV, but have you got, enough different kinds of people? For me, really important, lots of different accents, lots of different backgrounds. You don't want, you've got 7, I've got 7 potential couples, it's like they can't all look and talk the same and have the same values. You've got to reflect the UK. And so no, we do get involved in that because A, you want the best punters for telly, but B, we at Channel 4 have a massive commitment to how we reflect Britain on screen, and we have to sort of police that. That sounds quite harsh, but that's our job.
Yeah, definitely. Everything's guided both on and off screen by our remit, isn't it? Which makes our content really varied, which is brilliant. Fab. So we're going to go back a few steps. I wonder if you could tell our audience how you actually got into commissioning, how you got to these roles that you're in now. Should we start with you, Lydia?
Yeah, well, mine was a bit of a slightly odd sideways way into the land of TV, in that I am still relatively recently new to the TV industry. I have been in this job for 2 years. And prior to that, I worked in a production company as a production secretary for about 9 months. But that was my first job in TV, so less than 3 years. So I worked I went straight out of high school into a job because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I worked in sort of secretarial roles for quite a long time, worked as a personal assistant for a long time. Decided that I wanted to try and make the move into the TV industry, and I did have like a sort of role in mind once I learned a little bit more about it. And then I just started going to events, very helpfully titled events like how to get into TV, and just started talking to people, trying to meet people, trying to figure out how the industry worked, because for someone who knew nothing about it at all and just happened to make a couple of friends who worked in TV, it was all like a very new world. And even the way that people talk to each other on emails, it was just a slightly different tone, and different to anything that I was used to. But it's very much starting to meet people, going to events, talking to people, saying that talking about my skills and what I thought would be helpful, which is, as I said, my role at the moment, it has a lot of administrative work in it. So there's a lot of crossover in the skills that I already had. So I eventually met someone who was a talent manager for a production company in Scotland, and through whom I got a week of work experience that gave me a little bit more experience and knowledge of how a production company worked. And then that was that company where I had that work experience was the company that gave me my first job as a production secretary in TV, and that was my first role in telly, and it sort of like went from there.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, we always tell our Four Skills audience not to underestimate things like tuning into a Four Skills panel event or anything else that might have given them, exposure to the industry and a bit of an insight. That's always good things to include in cover letters. And it sounds like you really took advantage of, events and networking, Lydia. Do you have any tips on those types of events that you attended, how you came across them? Yeah, anything to share like that would be very helpful, I'm sure.
Yeah, honestly, I Google is your friend.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely, I was like, how do I get into TV? And saw it came up and just kept on reading articles and looking at the websites. It was through Screen Skills was very helpful to me as well, because that gave like so much information, just overviews, even of job roles, of what job roles were even available and out there. Because the first job that I got in TV, I didn't even know that that was a job.
Yeah.
When I first started looking into telly, didn't know really what commissioning did. I didn't know that the job that I have now was a job. It feels like you're peering behind a curtain.
Yeah.
And the more you find out, the more you find out.
Yeah.
So just keep on reading. And then when you do find events, like they should all generally like be free, and often they're in the evening. And when you do go, it can be a little bit intimidating. I certainly was intimidated at the first one that I went to. But everyone is there because they want to talk to you. Everyone is there because they want to help you. They want to get more people into the industry. They want to have conversations with you. And even though it feels scary or that you don't know what on earth you're even going to say, it's always worth just taking the plunge and just saying hello and exchanging emails and remembering who you meet, who you spoke to, what they talked about, and just taking the plunge and being brave is worth doing.
Absolutely second that. And now we've got LinkedIn as well. So you've got kind of people in the industry at your fingertips. So we always tell people not to be shy. The worst that can happen is someone doesn't respond. So yeah, absolutely second that, Lydia. And Deborah, how about you?
I mean, mine's is quite a historic tale because I've been in TV since the millennium. But I mean, I didn't know anyone in TV. It's not my background. I grew up in the far north of Scotland. I was working in a call centre, no connections whatsoever. Just so happened that Scottish Television were looking for presenters, and I didn't want to present. But I thought, well, this is an opportunity to write a letter. It wasn't even an email; it was a letter. That is going to at least get answered because they put it in the paper, God, newspapers and letters. But so I knew it was one chance to sort of say, here's who I am. I'm interesting. I'm good. Just talk to me. And they did. And then because they thought I lived 300 miles closer to where they were filming a show than I did, and I didn't correct them, I got a runner job. And that's you might find a lot of commissioners who go runner. So on the creative side, runner, researcher, assistant producer, producer, director, series producer, exec producer, and then quite often then commissioning editor. Or you might then go on to open your own production company or, do different other senior jobs, if you like. But that Lydia is she started off in what we would maybe call the production management side. So you might go production secretary, production coordinator, production manager, production exec, head of production. Then you might come to Channel 4 and be a production finance manager. So one side is more management, the other side is creative. You can chop and change. And what my advice would be when you're first starting out, chop and change and try everything. Don't be in a rush to get to the next level, because even when I got to where I am now, people looked at my CV and went, has she done enough of another genre? Has she done enough of this genre? And actually, I'm really lucky because I wasn't in a rush. I did documentary, like at every level. I did documentary, I did live, I did ents, I did everything. And so and it was only when I was series producing and execing that I was solely in daytime and features. That's great because it's got me the job I've got, but my original job was also fact ent, and there was a question over my head: has she done enough fact ent? Fortunately, I had, and and I know my telly as well. So I just would say to people, Lydia's absolutely right about how to find out about us and how to get over. But once you're in, just don't be in a rush to get anywhere. Enjoy every experience, and because everything is learning, and it's such a vast industry and so many different things that you might enjoy that you would miss out on if you chose one path too early. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it just goes to show from both your experiences that, career journeys aren't linear. It really is about being open-minded, having that enthusiasm, doing a bit of research, networking if you feel comfortable doing so. And who knows where that will take you. And nothing's set in stone, right? You can move around.
Yeah, and my other thing is watch TV. Like if you want to work in TV, watch TV, because the one thing we will ask you, if you phone us up and you're like, I want to work in TV, I'll be like, oh, why?
Yeah.
And then if you go, oh, and and I'll be like, but if you sort of say to me, oh, and I, like, oh, what? So I love Come Down With Me, or like, you don't have to watch Channel 4 shows, but if you're not watching linear TV, then you might want to work in what you are watching. You might just be watching stuff on socials, and then I'd probably say to you, actually, you should talk to our linear team, because it sounds like that's much more, what you're day-to-day interested in. But if you are getting to an event and you're speaking to people that make TV, chances are they'll want to talk about TV.
Yeah. You've kind of already touched on this. People should watch TV, but as I've mentioned, there are quite a few apprentice commissioning roles currently live. What skills would you say are particularly needed for the world of commissioning? What would you look for in an apprentice application, perhaps?
Well, I've interviewed for apprentices previously, and it's funny, like I talk about working in a call centre. I call mostly so Lydia's talking about admin, but on my side of things, I think most of that's customer service. So if you've worked in a bar and you can handle people, at midnight, if you work in the local supermarket and you chat to all the old ladies, I will love you. If you have worked in a call centre, if you've dealt with complaints, when I'm talking about the amount of production companies I speak to in a day that I'm politely handling, I'm doing customer service at the end of the day. I'm making sure that they are happy and that they're informed and that they have the tools that they need, and so I really love to hear from people who have been in hospitality or whatever, any sort of, and if you're only leaving school, then tell us what you did at school. Like, tell us, what your part-time stuff was or what your work experience was. There's always a way, I think, for you to prove that if you were asked to make a cup of tea, that you'd happily go and make a cup of tea, or if you were asked to, write an email, that you could write an email. You might not have been paid to do it before, but I bet you've done it, So I think it's like, don't be just shy about telling us about yourself, full stop.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
every bit of experience is valid. It's because it's such a varied industry.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Anything to add, Lydia?
Yeah, I just agree with all of what Deborah says, and that, I've done the same. We've interviewed for apprentices, and the people who stand out are the people who, no matter how much experience that they've got, are able to just talk about what they enjoy, and be able to tell you a little bit about themselves, what they're passionate about, and be able to bring you that relevant experience. If it's like every time that you walk your dog, you enjoy having 12 chats with people, that is relevant, and that's something that I want to hear about. If you write emails from your mom for your mom when she wants to complain about something, or emails to her doctor for her, or something like that, that's relevant, and that's something that I want to hear about. If you've got a wee bit of chat and can talk a little bit about telly, and show us just even a little bit of relevant experience, and just shows that you're willing and hopefully a bit excited that's all key things for us.
Willing and excited is, I think, like bang on. Otherwise, why are you here? You know, it's sort of like if you want to join in with a team, but hopefully it makes you a bit happy as well.
Definitely. It's meant to be an opportunity, not looking for the finished product, people that really want to learn and get a lot out of the experience. So I'm aware that we have run out of time. And before I let you go and say my thanks, I just want to see if there are any questions from our audience, if you're happy to
I'm
answer
okay for time if everyone else is.
Brilliant. Thank you. Fab. So we've got a question here from Amari, which says, would you consider volunteering a good thing for apprenticeship applications?
If you mean by you've been doing volunteering, then absolutely. If you mean, do we want to employ people without paying them, then no. So, but hopefully you mean like you've been doing volunteering.
Yes, I think so.
Yes, God, absolutely. I mean, I'll be a sucker for that because again, it just shows willing, doesn't it? It shows sort of you're 9 out of 10 times you'll be part of a team, I would imagine, if you're volunteering. And if you're not, then you're absolutely coping with something by yourself, and that it'll be a skill in itself as well. So yeah, absolutely. Tell us all about it.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Please don't underestimate any work experience. We appreciate if you're applying to an apprenticeship, you're probably at the start of your career. So volunteering, babysitting, group projects at school, all incredible transferable skills for any of these apprentice positions. I'll just check if there are any others. Whilst we wait for any potential final questions, just to finish us off, Lydia, Deborah, I'm interested to know, what advice would you give to your younger self, if anything?
I think for my younger self, it's just like to be a bit braver when I was younger and just go for the opportunities. I think that the move into TV has been so brilliant for me, and like, you know, it's still really exciting and fun and I love it. And sometimes I wonder, you know, if you'd gone for it a little bit earlier, you'd have had even more time doing a fun job that you love. So yeah, I think my younger self is just like, you know, don't hesitate too much and just go for it.
I think my thing would be, it's sort of what Lydia said earlier, or picking up on that. It's okay to feel intimidated. It's not okay to be made to feel intimidated. So when I first joined TV, there was a lot of people who were of a certain standing or of a certain background, or, you know, all went to the same art school. And I was intimidated, and I probably made mistakes based on being nervous and feeling like I didn't belong or I was on the back foot. And, you know, if I could look at my younger self, I'd be like, ignore all that, because you're going to get there because you're a hard worker and you care. And that's all anyone wants, actually. And if they don't want that, if they'd rather you had the right surname rather than you're really good at making telly, then more fool them. Do you know what I mean? Or, you know, wouldn't you rather have a better team member than somebody who went to the right university? So I just, like, I wish I'd sort of been able to have more sort of confidence to ignore, just really early on. I got that confidence really quickly. That's a good thing about TV. It's so dynamic. The minute you get your first job under your belt, you'd be like, yeah, I am good at this, like, crack on. But just sometimes there are events or there are circumstances where people will make you feel, you know, that you don't belong. And what's lovely is, particularly Channel 4, is they're on their way out. And it's, you know, it's the likes of me and Lydia that, you know, that you're talking to now, if you see what I mean. It's like, you don't have to be made to feel that way. You can just get your head down and you will get through it. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think even at the start of your career, it's as much about you choosing whether somewhere's the right workplace for you as it is the other way around. So have confidence in your own conviction. That's it. We've got no other questions on the chat, and it's officially the end of the webinar. So thank you so much, Lydia and Deborah, for giving up your very busy time to undertake this 4 skills session today. It should be really helpful to anyone watching. Please like and subscribe. And if you're interested in applying to our apprentice positions, particularly the commissioning ones that we've mentioned, head over to the Channel 4 Careers website for more information. Deadlines close on February 27th. Thank you so much, both. Bye, everyone.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. That was great.
Good luck, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.